Welcome to Navigating Hope, your compass to health empowerment. I'm Dr. Jaime Hope, steering you through healthcare, overcoming overwhelm, personal goals, and emergencies. We'll navigate the healthcare maze with actionable insights and real-world advice, unlocking the secrets to a healthier, more vibrant life. Join us to take control of your well-being and make informed decisions for your health and your future. Stay with us as we unravel the mysteries of medicine, wellness, and life's unforeseen challenges, helping you bypass the ER with a dose of knowledge. Stay tuned till the end of the episode with a recap of your actionable insights and a free gift. Let's chart a course to your well-being together. All right, welcome back to another episode of Navigating Hope. I am so excited to be here today with an incredible person, Cheryle Hays. She's known as the Human Potentialist. More than 25 years of helping people overcome adversity, build resilience, and her strategic mind is just unsurpassed. Just truly an incredible person. Cheryle, thank you for being with us today.
I am so excited about it, and thank you for what a gracious introduction to have, because it is me who is blessed to be here with somebody who has the perspective and the passion and the purpose that you do.
Thank you. I mean, gosh, let's talk about purpose a lot. So let's start with your origin story because, you are a conductor. I love how you taught me, I sell choice and being responsive, being a champion. We have so many things to do. What made you want to do all these things and help people?
Well, I think because early on, I never had choice. I grew up in a very abusive upbringing, corrected mainly with fist or with belt buckles or nylon rope. So it was not the best of the upbringing, and saw how my mom became the victim and stayed in that kind of a situation, and we weren't allowed to talk back. And unfortunately, that type of thing perpetuated itself through my life with the first marriage, and then I had the dubious honor of being one of us people that unfortunately have had sexual assault. I've had 2 stalkers. So I'm like, okay, I've had enough of this bad stuff. But I realized it was controlling my life. I kept looking back and being controlled. So all of that, though, was my origin story to say, wait a minute, I'm living, and in spite of, I can only be so good in spite of these things that happen because they've controlled me. Even though I was trying to do good with it, it was still looking back. And I thought, how much power am I giving to people? And it took me a long time to figure out a way to move to living a because of life, to say, you know what? I'm glad that happened, because now I can maybe create a situation where it doesn't happen to somebody else, where they can come through it quicker. And so I look at it as changing the world one person at a time, that ripple effect coming out. And so it gives me goosebumps. So
no, me too. Oh, I have all the feels here. The way that you took your pain and turned it into your purpose,
yes.
in spite of, to because of, and using, all the bricks that people threw at you to build this platform, this foundation. And what you're doing is you're using it to give, to help to other people, to share, to coach. I know you've been doing it for so long, you probably have forgotten how absolutely incredible that is.
Oh, well, thank you. But I will be honest with you that every time I work or help people or do something, there's something in it for me to learn. So I figure I'm still on my journey, right? Always on my journey to how do I become better and be better at what I do, so that I can in turn help others, so they can in turn help others. That's why I have the tagline I do, be empowered with an I-N, empowered, to be empowering. I figured I needed to look at myself first.
Yes. And so you talk about that. You talk about leadership and being a champion. And so one of your videos, it's on YouTube, we'll post link in the chat, is talking about being champions versus winners with your kids. And that was on the spot, mind blowing. I'm going to change how I talk to my kids about this. And you also taught me in that video, it's not just my kids. So tell us about that.
Oh, I was really blessed when I was asked to do that talk. I have 2 wonderful children. And the first one was supposed to die. The doctor said this my child was not going to live. And so there's that whole story on there about feeling very, very blessed when their life was saved, because we knew other people that did not happen. But my son became an Irish step dancer. You ever saw Riverdance, Lord of the Dance? Here's this short little boy from Fort Worth, Texas, who is now a two-time world champion Irish step dancer. People kept saying, that'll never happen. You can't do that. But I watched he had his own little fan club. And I'm like, okay, this can't be good. This is just not good happening. Well, at the same time, my daughter, who is such an incredible, gosh, I learned something from her. Wish I could be like her. She's incredible. She wouldn't even ask to use a dressing room. Mom, you go ask them for me. Wouldn't stand up for herself. And I had to do a lot of soul searching to say, what am I doing to help or hurt in this situation? And through that, and through listening to all the soccer moms, she played soccer, and all the dance moms and all the accolades coming different ways, and watching what was happening, thought there's something that's got to be changed. We're doing this wrong. We are rewarding people for winning a medal in the eyes of the world. So I did some research, and I'll share it. So I'll blow my video, but that's okay, because champion, the root word, does not mean winner. It means fighter. And I realized both of my kids are fighters. They're fighting to be the best they can do. And am I helping or hurting them? And if I was going to help them, that meant I needed to do some soul searching and changing on myself, and move from being the victim looking back that I was living to looking forward and say, so then what does being a champion, what does Cheryle's champion look like? So.
Oh my gosh. And that's so incredible. And that message, it's in your parenting, it is in your leadership. And you've trained, I don't even know how many corporations, huge companies, small companies, whether you're being the champion or the leader, who do we start with first? Right? Do we start bossing other people around first? Is that the goal?
Don't you wish it was that easy? And that's unfortunately what we think about when we think of the role leader. But then again, if you look back at it, you've got to lead yourself first. Where are you leading them? It is so true in companies. Doesn't matter what kind of company. And think about your family as a company as well. We follow people. We don't follow entities. So where are you going to lead them? What are you going to lead them to learn? And that is the responsibility that we have, I think, in this world, to understand that I am a leader to somebody, whether I have kids, whether I have somebody who reports direct to me, whether it's just a friend, whether it's somebody I met in line at the grocery store and how I chose to act. I'm a leader at any point in time to somebody. And it's up to me then, what do I want to teach them? And by gosh, if I'm going to feel like I'm teaching them, then by my actions, I had better be careful. What are my actions, and what do I want to teach? What do I want people to think about me? Because I feel very, very importantly that there's no such thing as coincidence. I was put next to that person in that grocery line for a reason. And that just changes everything, doesn't it? It makes you curious about them, and it makes you empathetic, going, wow, we're here together. Why? So it reframes what we do.
That's a huge part. I hear that message coming through in everything, any podcast you've been on, any video I've watched of you. Two big messages come through: empathy and psychological safety. So let's talk about, what does that look like, and how, when we were leading ourselves so we can lead other people, how can we utilize those? I hate how they call them soft skills, because they're incredibly powerful.
There's really nothing soft about them. Not if you use it as a tool, instead of use it as something that you either have or something given to you. And I think that's the difference in the mindset. So let's talk about empathy first. It's very hard to teach empathy, right? Just be nicer to people, all right? Just, listen to them. Okay, great, but how does that make me empathetic? What starts making you empathetic is if you start really reflecting on what makes you. And why am I reacting negatively? Why did what you say make me feel like a victim, to where I fight, flight, or freeze, however that looks out, right? That always triggers a reaction, not good or bad. It just is. So but do I need to stay there? And that's where I can choose to reframe and respond and do something a little bit different with it. So one of the things that I work with people on is that I can increase your empathy by simply teaching you how to be curious. You may not naturally be curious, but I can teach you what questions to ask, and I can teach you how to listen. And if you'll choose to say, I'm going to try this, then all of a sudden we start realizing our own little perspective, we're missing things and we're making a lot of assumptions. And that whole thing about we judge others based on our interpretation of their actions, but we judge ourselves on our intentions. And that's worlds apart. And so it allowed me to start reframing and go, wait a minute, and why am I judging him? What is fearful in there for me? And what am I uncomfortable with? So I started learning. And then I started going, this is kind of fun. I'm learning, but by learning, I'm asking questions. And now they're opening up. And I saw this was the coolest thing ever. I saw, if you think about it, we're at odds, right? So we're this way and we're fighting at each other. And then I say, I'm going to respond. So I shift. And you're still, nope, I'm mad. I'm going to stay mad. I go, that's okay. You can be mad at me. You don't have to like me. I'm here to make you successful. And eventually, guess what will happen? You will react differently. So I can help you respond differently, but for you, it's still reacting. But now all of a sudden, we're in alignment. Now all of a sudden, we're cutting each other some slack. We're willing to listen to each other. So that's how empathy works. It doesn't start out being empathetic, but that ties into psychological safety. And I am no kind of scientist, all right? I have my MBA, I'm a strategist, but I have my own definition of psychological safety. If I can go on for just another 30 seconds. Perfect. Okay. Because psychological safety, if you read it, it's all about I need to be safe to be protected. I should be able to say whatever I want to say, and nobody should be able to say anything back to me. That's what people get out of psychological safety, and it's impacted our workplace. It impacts our homes. Well, psychological safety, two things. One should start internally. How do I create my own bubble of psychological safety to where I can choose to respond when you are saying something I'm not comfortable with versus react and be defensive, because I'm shutting out my opportunity to learn and to learn about you and to align. So it starts with it in. Then to extend that bubble out to people means I need to create an environment where people are comfortable being challenged. Whether it's by me, whether they're challenging me, whether I'm challenging them back, whether we've come and said this isn't working right, whether there's a big situation and we're all stressed out and we feel overwhelmed and we want to run away and hide under the desk. How do we overcome this? Psychological safety is a framework to give you the mechanism to say, I'm safe even in this uncomfortable situation. I'm safe because this part I have control over. So this is where I'm going to operate.
I love that so much because it is really important to create that for people. It doesn't mean everything should always have to go your way and you can do whatever you want with no consequence. We all still have to work together. But in the empathy and the curiosity, it's so interesting. And I'm sure that you've seen this in your experiences as a strategist, people who talk to more people who are different from them and travel, you have a bigger worldview, and it makes it easier to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and to stay curious. I actually really enjoy talking to people who have beliefs that I don't have, because I'm not coming at a place, I'm not trying to change their mind. I'm probably not going to, but what can I learn from this? And so that, the reactive versus responsive, we talk about that with a medicine, right? If I give you a medicine and you're reacting, that's usually bad. It's like a rash and something oozy. But if you're responding, right, it means that it's helping and it's getting better. And so I love that you use react versus respond. That's really, really cool, and how you teach people. So it's not just here's what it is, but you actually teach people how to start doing that.
I do. And that is fun. We do some fun role plays, and depending on how people come in and certainly want me to get engaged in their organization or with them individually. But it's all about demonstrating what you're wanting people to do. So we pre-plan, and that's certainly something you do when you're looking at a situation that you're getting ready to go into. Like you as a doctor, you don't just sit there and go, I wonder what's going on with this person today. You're checking the charts. You're looking at, what does my knowledge say, what's happening? So you're doing all of that reflection before you go into a situation. And there are certain outcomes we want. Well, we forget to do that as individuals. So I help people understand, in any situation, especially say, that person that wakes up every morning and they are sitting there at the edge of their bed going, how am I going to make Dr. Jaime mad today? What am I going to do?
How can I cut her off in traffic and all? Yes, there's a whole conspiracy, right?
All right. They're really not, for one, but I take it that way. If something comes at me and I'm like, did you just wake up going, how am I going to get Cheryle today? So you choose to say, all right, in that situation, I've got this goal. I'm going to use my tools of empathy and curiosity and psychological safety to come in and say, I bet she's having a bad day. I bet something's going on. How do I align with her? How do I honor myself through this and honor this other person? And it's just a game changer.
I mean, it's so incredible. If we could all right now, with all the conflict going on in the world, step back and do a little bit more of this, a little bit more of leading ourselves, becoming less reactive, staying more curious. I mean, what a game changer.
It would, but social media, newspapers, they don't love getting along. So that's where we again have to choose. Do I choose to be all in and assume the worst, or can I meet in the middle? And yeah, I just shake my head because I'm like, just get me a room full of people and let's come up with what we could solve. What can we agree on? What can we solve to move better? So this works whether you're dealing with a personal issue, whether you're dealing with a team, whether you're dealing with a family member, whether it's just a framework that helps you problem solve.
And so I'm sure that you've seen this so many times, Cheryle. So somebody's coming to you and they're overwhelmed, all the things coming at them, and people tend to have this thought, and I would even be so bold as to say myth, that if they're struggling, that means they're failing or a failure.
Oh, isn't that sad? I mean, we might as well all give up then, okay? Because really what's fascinating is actually that kind of stress, that kind of feeling of overwhelm is actually opportunity. It's actually a great thing. But remember, our reactive brain is in control. The amygdala is in control, and we don't recognize it as being a great thing. When you train yourself to recognize it and go, wait a minute. Okay, so there's something new here, something I don't quite understand. And yes, it's stressful, but what can I do about it? What can I control? Where is the opportunity in this? Who else needs help in this? So what is the bigger picture? And there are just a few little things that you can do. May I share one of the simplest things you can do in a situation? Say you're in the middle. Now, this is not pre-planning. You're in the middle of something very stressful. And you start recognizing, okay, yes, I'm going to blow up, or I'd better get myself under control. If a lot of people will say, just deep breathe and take a break, that never worked for me. Okay, it just never worked for me. It might for some, but see, we're all different. But for me, I had to come up with what would work. And so I use one word: respond. There's my word again, right? Respond. But if you spell it in your brain, it does two different things. One, just spelling it moves you from emotion to logic. The problem is, our logical brain will do its best to logically solve the problem on why Cheryle's frustrated or scared or overwhelmed to begin with. So it'll solve the wrong problem. So I taught myself that for me, what does respond mean? It doesn't mean respond logically. It means, wait a minute, what are Cheryl's goals? What are my goals always in a situation? What would be my goal here? Not to let the situation control me, not to let that person control me, but to honor both of us, not to, whatever that might be. Okay. And so now it does two things. One, it gets me thinking logically, but then I have to remember, what does respond mean to me? So that's how you start flipping it. And then you ask a question. or you make a statement. And I morphed this, didn't steal it from somebody, I morphed it. And I can't remember who years ago. It's called MRI. And no, it's not a medical term. It's most reasonable interpretation. I will choose to act on the most reasonable interpretation, not my assumption. So I might say something like, wow, it's interesting you would say it that way, because it sounded like you were attacking me, but I know that's not the case. So help me understand your point of view. And that gets me back calmed down. So.
Oh my God. I love that. You have the traumatic experiences that you went through, and you learned how to do that. And because I still see this in the motivational world and stuff like that. They're like, "Brah, here's the idea." And you get home and you're like, "Yes, that's great." And you're like, "No, literally, what do I actually do? What are some concrete small steps, because I'm in overwhelm and I can't do all those things." And you have made it so easy for people, like the framework. And I love that you acknowledge sometimes the deep breathing thing doesn't work. There are some of the resilience gurus that like, everybody has to do this. Everyone has to meditate for an hour a day, whatever. I can't sit still and meditate. I'm sorry, I try, but I suck at it. But if I go for a hike in nature, I'm in like perfect meditative state. If you put an EEG on me, that's where I'd be. So I love that you said that. You're like, you know what? Let's all be real. Not all this works for each person.
And it's, understanding that it's really not the deep breathing that solves the problem. It's what's going on in your brain. It's what's happening to allow you to move. But then what are you going to do about it as you move? And that's something that, like I keep hearing over and over, you just have more self-awareness. Well, I'm self-aware that I am imploding myself, but I don't know how to stop. Deep breathing did not stop it for me. Or emotional intelligence. Yes, I understand what I'm doing, but again, why and how do I even stop it? So it's like promising me a cup of coffee and never delivering on that promise. I thought I have to come up with some tools, very quick tools that work in the long run as well as work situationally to help me. And it changed my life. It just changed my life.
I love that. I'm practical. If I'm in the ER and someone's bleeding to death, like I can cheer for them all I want, but if I don't stop the bleeding, they're going to die.
Right. So, I know. You stop the bleeding and then hopefully figure out why.
Yeah.
It would be like the difference in giving somebody an aspirin versus understanding where the fever came from.
Yes. Yes. And that's what you do. You're a practitioner of this. And I didn't even say this in your bio, but I think people will understand now. You're a best-selling author. Now, people who are listening, can you see why? Right? What a compelling story to take, the journey that you've been on and then the tools that you give people in the moment when we're all like trying not to implode because we're like, dang it, we're grown-ups and being a grown-up is stupid sometimes. These are things that people can actually use, your respond framework.
Well, I love that you said it. Thank you, because that gave me goosebumps, because that's the thing, right? Is there's something that I have that somebody could use and make their life a little bit easier or help someone else. Because we start finding out it's just not all of us. Because if I'm reacting, guess what? You're reacting too. So now we have two illogical creatures trying to solve problems in this world. You want to see it on a bigger scale, watch Congress. All right. But then you get into with them. What's in it for me? So that's what I try to do. I try to help people because this changed my life, and I was pretty lost. I was moderately successful, but I was so reactive. I was so not in control of my life and my destiny and what I wanted and how I pictured myself.
And if you can do it, anyone can do it.
Anyone can do it, because yes, that's for doggone sure. That's why I always have so much still more to learn from people.
And I love that that's still your journey. You're not just like, I have arrived, I am the one guru and I have all the answers. You are still learning on your journey. Do you still have tough moments?
Oh my gosh. One of the things that I was thinking in reading about your 70-30, and I was like, oh, good. 30% of the time I can enjoy that I want, that food that I want, if I'm consistently doing it well. 70% of the time, it's a journey. It's never a destination. It's always a journey. And that means 70, 80, sometimes 40. Sometimes I fail miserably in the moment because I'm human. But what is so cool again about that is that I have a choice, right? I can respond. Well, if I'm reacting, I would say, well, I failed. If I respond, I would go, oh, good, one less failure behind me. Now that was a step up on the ladder to success. So by reframing, My next step is to say, so what's one step? What's one thing I can do? Just one little step. And then I'll take that one. And then all of a sudden your perspective and everything changes.
Oh my gosh. And that's amazing because it's that overwhelm people get into, like the example of you have to lose 100 pounds. Like that's overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
Start with like one, and what's, one thing you can do. And so when we're in that very reactionary, overwhelmed state, giving a 50 billion step plan is you don't have the capacity.
No, you can't. And we can't see that far in the future.
No, not at all. You're seeing like just right here in front of you. And so then when people are not in overwhelm, you also help with your framework, how to prevent it, how to get more and more towards that vision of who you are, what your purpose is.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. Once you make it through all these little vignettes, little situations in your life, we are made up of all the short and long stories in our life. And it doesn't just go back to when we were age 7. So I work with business leaders that are so reactive. And then when I'm talking to them, if something triggered that reaction from just a couple of hours ago. So you start understanding the bigger pictures and the bigger stories for what's going on, not to say, oh, you've got to overcome the trauma of an abusive parent, but because that's not what I do, but it's to say, okay, I recognize that. I recognize, yeah, I got help for it, or I did whatever, but that comes up. So now how do I take control of it? Take control doesn't mean I recognize it and go, poor me, time to go on. It's like, oh no, that's a strength now. How do I use it? So again, by reframing and moving forward, I took situations and started changing how I was reacting to people. And I started seeing not only them change, how they reacted back to me, but I started seeing me change, my confidence, my security. I was raised being told how stupid and ugly I was. I was raised being told a woman should never go to college. If I did go to college, I could be a teacher, but only of high school or younger, because a woman should never teach a man. I could be a nurse, couldn't be a doctor. Somehow nurses were less than, which I disagree with. It's a different type of education. But in my dad's mind, it was less than. I could be a administrative assistant now. Back in my day, it was secretary, couldn't be the boss. Right? And because to him, it was a less than. A woman was less than. When you live that life, you become less than. And I just now believe in moving from less than to limitless. And so that's kind of my thing. So
I mean, that's amazing because those patterns, I mean, you hear something often enough, you start to believe it.
You do.
And that's how myths get propagated on social media. You're like, well, if 87 people are posting about this, it's got to be true, even though it's totally not. And for you to break free, I mean, that's deep conditioning. Deep conditioning. And from that less than to limitless. And I know that there's a lot of people who are listening that struggle, particularly, people of color, women, that we've already been told we're less than by other people. And to overcome that is remarkable. And you're overcoming, you've got your hand. You're like, I'm going to bring the next person along with me, and the next person and the next person.
Oh, shoot, yes. I mean, think about the strength in that. Think about making a difference in this world.
Yeah. Wow.
If I can be a champion person and
Yes.
help you become a champion person, just think about what that'll do. We are no longer so easily controlled. It doesn't mean I always agree with you. It doesn't mean I agree 100% with either side on politics or different religions, different things. But there is so much beauty in alignment in what we can find. And then we can go, wait a minute, I've been judging you as being less than because I'm either afraid of you or you're challenging my perspective or whatever the case may be. I've forgotten to demonstrate curiosity and find out maybe we do have something in common. Maybe we can work together on something. So the opposite keeps us all easily controlled. And what's so scary is that, especially for us women, we give up our power. Now, our power doesn't mean we're better than. It means we're different and we're us, and that's okay. But here are my boundaries. Well, how do you get this security in yourself? That's a psychological safety, to nicely say, these are my boundaries, and work within those. And it's a game changer.
It is. And how healthy is that? We don't have to make somebody less than. It's not a fight. It's not a pie. We're not going to run out.
No.
So many of my female friends are attractive, successful, powerful, amazing women. And it's not like the 6th grade mean lunch table where, oh, you're not welcome because we don't want anyone who makes us look bad. We've got this just expansive, abundant table. We're like, come on in, sis. You just did something awesome. We're not jealous. We're not like, oh, it must be nice. We're like, yes, good for you. Tell us about it. And like, we all need more. I didn't have people like that for a long time in my life. And it's just, what a game changer.
Yeah. I didn't either. And I kept thinking things would change. And then mentor some younger women still just like right out of college. And that's just to kind of help prepare leaders for the future. And then I have my clients. And what is sad is that as many books that are written, women are helping each other now. There are just as many, it seems, that aren't. That we actually are more antagonistic sometimes against other women than we would be against a man, because we go, oh, well, that's just how a man is. Whatever. Okay. I don't like comments like that. But so think about it, if we're ever judging a class of people differently, regardless of the class, all right, at what cost did we do that? And at what was I trying to protect about myself? Why? It's like being a parent. For me, I want my kids to be better, not just have more, because things are things and you don't get your happiness from things or joy from things, I don't believe. But I want them to be better than. That's a legacy. So I prefer to live my legacy for the world. How can I help other people learn from my mistakes and be better than, so they can do it? And I think, personally for me, that is my purpose, to inspire and equip leaders. And we're all leaders.
Wow.
For tomorrow, because we need it.
We do. Oh, we so need this. I mean, we're going to put links to your book. You were telling me about a framework that you have, a tool that people can use about being responsive. Tell us a little bit about that, because I know that there are some people who are excited to take a step right now.
Well, and the book I'm working on is The Human Potentialist, and I'll really be diving into what this framework is and what it did for me. I wish it was out there. My other book, which is the bestseller, was a collective and gets into, for business people, it's perfect for culture. But my framework is what I've laid out here. It is really 3 words for life changing, 3 words, which is reflect, reframe, and respond. Those work to change your life. They work situationally. They work to problem solve. They work to include people. There's so many applications for it. And that was built over, once I saw what the word respond in my mind was doing for me situationally. And so I kind of backed into it, and a lot of prayer, a lot of wisdom, a lot of bad things happened. Then I'm like, okay, what now? That was I ate that extra piece of dark chocolate. Now what? Okay, good. That's okay, because I learned from it and then I've moved on from it. And those 2 work hand in hand, but you can't do either one without having the right goals. And that means, how do we determine what your right goals are? And what do you want them to be? And that's where you start developing the curiosity and the empathy and the understanding it's never just about you. Don't ever make it just about you.
Oh my gosh, isn't that the truth? Anytime I've been kind of in my head and struggling, and you just look outside at the bigger world and realize it's not all about you, you're like, oh yeah, okay, cool. We're going to be fine. We can move forward.
And it's not limiting. It actually is enlarging, because
so much.
But I'm here. Okay, I'm part of this, and I might be that tiny little, guppy in this great big pond, but I'm here for a reason. And it's not to be eaten, it's to contribute. So, again, framing. How are we choosing to frame? I could frame myself believing, yep, you're stupid, and yep, you're ugly, and you'll never be anything. And so I was much later in years when I went back, and got my MBA. I was like, am I smart enough to do this? Old habits, die hard. They never quite go away. I can't erase the memory. What I can do, though, is say, oh yeah, that was the old Cheryle. And that would have kept her a victim. Oh no, I'm smart enough and I can do this. And here's why I'm supposed to be doing this. And here's what I'm going to do with it. And then that was my one step, right? And each situation that comes up, that would be my one step. And then I'm like, okay, so here's where I've got to go now. Here's the choice. So I've got to be that brave new world happens for me every single day.
Oh my gosh, this is incredible. Cheryle, I know that so many people who are listening are going to want to find you. This is resonating. Like, yes, I can do that too. It's one step, sometimes big steps, sometimes small steps. What is the best place for people to find you?
Well, okay. So write down my name, and I know you're going to post it up there, but you can just Google Cheryle Hays. My website, you can get to it two ways. One is Cheryle Hays, Cheryle. That's, it had to be different. Hays is my website. But if you can remember in power, I'm in power strategist. You can also find me on LinkedIn for those business ladies or men that want to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm available there. But if you do Google my name, you'll find access to that video. And I appreciate you sharing that because it's such an important distinction to understand where we can all be champions. It's not because you won the prize. It's
Yeah.
because you created the prize.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Cheryle, thank you. I know that you are, a successful author, writing another book, teaching individuals, teaching businesses. Thank you for putting aside some time on your calendar for us. This has been so valuable.
No, I just so appreciate it. I saw such I've learned from you. I thought that 70-30 rule, that's really what I was doing. I love that. I learned something today. I did not put it together, the reaction and the response on medicine. And so I find it fascinating how aligned coming from different directions. And I feel like I've just made a connection for life. So thank you very much.
We're friends. That's
I hope so. And for the audience, please, my goal is to help people if I can. If there's something I need to say that you needed to hear, then I've done my job for the day.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you again. We'll talk
Thank you.
soon.
Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Navigating Hope podcast with Cheryle Hays, known as the Human Potentialist. She shared her deeply personal story and incredible actionable tools for turning pain into purpose and building resiliency to become a responsive leader in every area of life. We're going to get to those top 5 key takeaways, but don't forget to download your free Smarter Goals worksheet, a practical tool that will help you apply Cheryle's powerful insights into your own life. Whether you're facing overwhelm or working towards big dreams, this tool will help you clarify your goals, take action, and build momentum. Download it now using the link in the show notes. So here are those key takeaways. Number 1, moving from in spite of to because of. Cheryle's journey from an abusive childhood to becoming a best-selling author and sought-after strategist reveals the transformational power of shifting your mindset. Rather than being held back by trauma, she reframed her story and used it as fuel to empower others. Her message: you don't have to be a victim of your past. You can build something powerful from it. Number 2, reflect, reframe, and respond. Cheryl's life-changing framework is her personal recipe for resilience. These 3 words serve as her toolkit to pause in moments of overwhelm, reframe thinking, and choose a proactive, grounded response. It's not about ignoring emotion. It's about learning to channel it into meaningful action. Number 3, become a champion, not just a winner. In parenting, leadership, and life, Cheryle challenges the idea of success being tied to medals or outcomes. The word champion comes from the Latin for fighter. She teaches us that being a champion means showing up, fighting for growth, and staying committed to becoming better. It's a mindset that nurtures empathy, strength, and connection. And number 4, curiosity and empathy as tools for leadership. Cheryle reframes empathy not as something you either have or you don't, but something that can be learned. One of her most practical tools: start by being curious. By asking the right questions and setting assumptions aside, we can build trust, psychological safety, and better relationships at home, at work, and in the world. And number 5, overwhelm is opportunity in disguise. Cheryle redefines moments of overwhelm not as failure, but as an invitation to grow. When your brain is reacting, it is so easy to spiral. But with tools like stopping and spelling the word respond in your head to re-engage logic and choosing the MRI, the most reasonable interpretation, you can stop reacting and start intentionally navigating challenges with confidence. Remember, life isn't about getting everything perfect. It's about learning how to respond even when things get messy. Stay hopeful, stay determined, and as always, keep on navigating your journey with hope. Thank you for tuning into Navigating Hope with me, Dr. Jaime Hope. It has been an honor to navigate the realms of health and wellness with you today. Remember, in the journey toward a healthier life, knowledge is your compass. If you enjoyed our time together, please share, like, and subscribe to Navigating Hope. Join us next week where we'll continue to empower your health journey, arming you with the wisdom to navigate life's challenges and keep the emergency room in your rearview mirror.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com.